Right guys, hello, another video for you. As always, we'll do timestamps as well as useful links in the description of the video and the pinned comment below. So today I wanted to let you know the Steam Summer Sale is in full effect. It runs from June 29th to the 13th of July. Lots of savings to be had on PC games on their store, but the real news that's exciting and why you've clicked on this video is their Steam Deck has up to 20% off. So if you don't know what the Steam Deck is, it's their handheld gaming PC. It's not a console, although it does get compared to the Nintendo Switch. Consoles are a very locked down experience. There's a lot you can do with the Steam Deck. They don't care what we do with it. They put the power in our hands, so you can run Windows on it if you want. It's got its own operating system, SteamOS, based on Linux. You can do emulation on there if you want to, play classic games from classic systems from back in the day, as well as, of course, just play PC games from the Steam store. So I've had mine just over a year now. I'll try and get a video done this weekend, talk about my experience with it. I absolutely love the thing. I've got a playlist on my channel for all the stuff that I've done with it so far. So those of you that are interested, we have 3 different SKUs. I suppose we could say 3 different models, but in essence they're all as powerful as each other when it comes to playing games. There's no difference there. It really comes down to the internal storage and the speed of that storage. So we've got the 64 gig model with the eMMC drive, so the least amount of storage, and it's the slowest, and that has 10% off. You'll note all of them come with a carrying case, so that's a nice little perk. You don't have to buy one. We've got the 256 gig model that has an NVME SSD, so that's faster storage and there's more of it. That's got 15% off, so reasonable saving. And then we've got the 512 gigabyte model, which has the NVMe SSD. That's 20% off, so the fastest storage. It does also have an anti-glare etched glass screen on it. Now you could technically buy a cheaper Steam Deck and put on a screen protector to get that anti-glare effect, but the image won't be as sharp as if you bought the 512 gigabyte model. That's the one that I bought, and I've been very happy with it. So the general consensus is the logical thing to do would be to buy the cheapest one. Save your money, get the 64 gigabyte model, because you can use the money that you've saved to buy your own NVMe SSD drive and fit it yourself. That kind of does make a lot of sense. So we've got the iFixit website. They can sell you parts for the Steam Deck here. They're partnered up with Valve for the Steam Deck, so we can buy parts, but they've also got guides to show you how to do this stuff. So if your thumbsticks start to drift however many years down the line, you can buy a part, you can follow the guide to fix it. They've got one for the solid state drive replacement. They'll even sell you the drive if you want to come through these guys and get the tools to go with it. It's really up to you, but it's a pretty comprehensive guide. I have opened up my Steam Deck not to change the drive. I changed the fan in mine, but yeah, it's not particularly difficult, to be honest with you. Those of you that aren't really that tech savvy, I can understand why you'd be nervous about it. Follow the guide. Be patient. If you've got an SD card in it, make sure you take that out before you try to open it, or you will damage the SD card. But as long as you follow the instructions, you should be absolutely fine. If you don't want to though, that's perfectly understandable. But let's just show that if you want to get a 1 terabyte NVMe, no, it has to be the 2230 size drive. Some of them look like a stick of chewing gum, like a rectangle. These 2230 drives, it's more of a square. But you see we can get a terabyte for about £95. Now, if you wanted to get a 64 gig and turn it into the 512, you could buy a 512 drive for about £47, or you could go up to 2 terabytes. That would be about £170. Now, truth be told, no matter how much internal storage you have, inevitably you will probably fill it with games anyway, no matter how much you have. So you do end up leaning on SD cards as well. So I've got quite a few of these, so I'm just going to show one example, the Samsung Evo Plus, simply because that's quite cheap at the moment on Amazon. £35 for 512 gigabyte. That's a class 10 A2 class card. They're the ones that you want to get. So I've actually got a few of these. I do one to do first person shooter games that are installed. I can take that out, put in another card which has third person games like Elden Ring, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, stuff like that. I can take that out, hot swap it, put in another card, and that's got my driving games like Forza Horizon, flight games like Ace Combat, and space games like Elite Dangerous. So I've got dedicated cards for different genres. I've even got one card for emulation which runs Balisera. It's a completely different operating system based on Linux, and that lets me do, you know, the Sega Dreamcast and PlayStation 1 and so on, stuff like that. So very cool device. I've had a lot of fun with it. So we'll just finish off. Those of you that are really sort of thinking, okay, I can get the 64 gig, but that's, you know, as much as I can spend, and yeah, maybe I could get an SD card or two. You'll probably be fine just with that, to be honest with you. So we want to point out Cryro 33 and his Cryro utilities. So you can follow the link and you can watch his video and you can get this software and you've got your Steam Deck. Basically what it is, it's software that runs a wizard to optimize the Steam Deck to get the best performance out of it, all to do with the swap file and the memory. But what it also does is to do with the storage. Now what you'll find, so I've got my 512 gigabyte internal storage. I can install a game to the SD card, but I still lose some internal storage because of shader caches for every game that I'm installing to the SD card. So if you've only got 64 gig of internal storage, you're going to start losing that pretty quickly. So what the Cryro utilities will do is move those shader caches onto the SD card that has the game. So that's incredibly useful when you've only got the 64 gig model of the Steam Deck. So yeah, it's incredibly useful. Can't thank this guy enough for the work that he's done. So yeah, you can literally get away with the cheapest Steam Deck and use your money on SD cards and do what I did, you know, have different genres for your different games. Because let's be honest, downloading games, if you haven't got the fastest internet, it can take hours. So you don't want to be installing games onto the 64 gig internal storage, uninstalling and reinstalling. Much better if you have collections of cards. So we'll leave it there, guys. Hopefully it's helped you out. Have a great day, have a great evening, whatever it is you choose to do after watching this. And as always, I'll see you when I see you next. Ciao for now.